You know, we don't have any cool music or anything like that to go into it. We really should. I should probably get an intro for this. Like for the show, you know, it would be a smart thing to do. It'd be professional instead of the four of us sitting here like
it's an IKEA commercial,
waiting for the IKEA commercial to end. Is it really?
I have an IKEA commercial.
Oh, okay. Some people may have a Dove commercial.
Better.
Some people may have a KFC commercial. It just depends. Those are the.
I guess it depends on like location.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well. I think we're here,
and we are live, Canadian as fuck, right here on Revolution Radio, Canadian AF. We have got a very special freaking guest tonight, and I can't wait to talk to him. I'm Craig G, along with Dimitri Alexiou, Derek Lewis, and Dan Brodbeck. Canadian producer, musician, songwriter, just all-around great guy extraordinaire.
Professor.
Can't wait. Professor as well. Professor as well. That's right, yes. We'll be talking about that very shortly. Going to get things rolling and ask our man Dimitri to say the land acknowledgement, please.
Oh, well, we here at Canadian as Fuck acknowledge that the land on which we're meeting is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit.
Our man Derek Lewis introduced us to this fella, and we are super stoked, as I say, to have him this evening. So, Derek, why don't you take it away, my friend?
We're just going to jump right into it. So right here on Canadian as Fuck Revolution Radio, produced by my lovely friend, Mr. Dan Brodbeck. This is Danny Strong with Not Right Now.
Every day is like a brick on my shoulders that's piled high, and I can't go much further, but I'll keep trying for you if you want me to. And I don't know how much use I will be to you. All those times that I said I'd be there for you, I still mean it, but I gotta tell the truth. That I am not right now where you need me to be. I am not right now strong enough for you to lean on me. And I can be tough and I can be brave, but this time will you carry my weight? 'Cause I'm not right now. Maybe it's time to trade in for new colors. Lower this flag just to raise another. Start over again where it's best for you. And I'll keep trying for you if you want me to. But I am not right now where you need me to be. I am not right now strong enough for you
Revolution Radio, Canadian as fuck. That was Danny Strong with Not Right Now. That was released in 2020, produced by my good friend, Mr. Dan Brodbeck. Mr. Dan Brodbeck, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
So Mr. Dan had a recording studio in the 90s in London, Ontario. Recorded artists like the Gandharvas and Brian Volmer and Garnet Rogers, which I know Dimitri has questions about.
Oh, do you want me to go? Okay.
I'm letting you in, bud.
Okay.
You were so excited today.
Well, okay. So all right, well, let me just say, like, obviously, like, you started off with London acts, right?
Mm-hmm. So
how did you come to find these bands? How did they come to find you? Like, how did you get into the art of music production in London, Ontario?
It's kind of it's all word of mouth. I think I might have handed out one business card and I had a website for about 10 minutes. It's kind of Gandharvas were a London band. They won a local contest to record with me. They had free studio time and they didn't show up. And I knew my wife, my wife, who might have just been my girlfriend at the time, was she worked with the singer's brother at a record store, and I phoned her and I said, get the guy on the phone, and they said, what the fuck is your brother doing? Get him the band over here. This is ridiculous. Like, why are you? And they were like, oh, okay. So I had to push them to come and kind of bother them a little bit to come. And they would do like 2 songs here, 2 songs there. So they didn't come in to do a record. It was very disjointed and little bits here and there. And then they got signed to MCA. And that was at the suggestion of a band called the Morganfields, who I loved, who was also a London band that was on the same label.
Did you ever work with the Morganfields?
Yeah, I did 2 records with the Morganfields.
Okay.
So they got signed, and then it was like, okay, make this into an album. So I had to kind of remix it all and kind of make it sound cohesive because it was like a year and a half's worth of stuff. I was the old, like, mature guy at like 24.
It's so amazing that's amazing how that happens.
Yeah. And it ended up getting, like, it was nominated. They were nominated for Best New Artist that year at the Junos. I'm like, this record production thing's easy.
Wow.
This all gonna go like this. And then I made a second record with them. And you know what? That Gandharvas thing was a very weird thing because the band was odd, unexpected. Yeah. Why would, like, it was just strange and brilliant, but different at the time. So in a time where you could actually be different, which is cool. And 92, 93, 94.
Well, all right. So I was gonna ask you about this album, their second album.
Love that album.
Which like, I love that album too. I got to tell you, I saw that around this time. All right. So this album is from 1998. This is called Kicking in the Water. It's their second album. And you produced this. Well, the band is co-credited as producer. Is that accurate, or did you think that
whether it's credited or not, it's almost always true? I mean, honestly, if it's their record, so there's a couple people that would have some people have a problem with that. I've done less work and been credited more, and I've done more work and been credited less. So it doesn't really matter to me.
Okay,
the industry didn't look at it and go, we should hire the Gandharvas to produce our record. They
they hired you. They hired Dan.
Yeah.
So yeah, like now so we just heard that Danny Strong song.
Yeah.
Which is like decades after what we're talking about right now. But one thing I noticed, like, there is a sort of very ambient, dreamy type of quality.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's a trademark of your sound?
Oh, absolutely is, because I grew up listening to Dan Lanois and Brian Eno. So right. So that's my favorite producers of all time, and including guitar playing. So that, not right now, the instrument, like, that's me. I co-wrote the song, and then all the instruments are me, and the backup vocals are me. So song means a lot to me. Yeah. Dolores O'Riordan, the Cranberries singer, the day we recorded that, she died. And I didn't actually know it until the Monday morning. But while we were recording that song, So it always kind of, and the subject matter, obviously, it's somebody going through something. I'm not, I'm not right now what you need me to be. I'm not right now strong enough for you, to lean on me. It's a pretty, I don't, my favorite songs are not uplifting.
Yeah.
There's always a bit dark. There's a bit sort of sad or whatever, melancholy sometimes, but that ambient thing, I like straight ahead, like right in your face stuff too, but that is always just been there. Guitar playing wise, I just love that. The simplicity, but the ambience, I love it, and always injected it. Whether I sort of mean to or not, it just sneaks in there, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
So this album, the second Godiva album, one thing that strikes me about it is that there's a real abrasiveness to it, but there's also that same ambient thing. And then I will never forget this. I saw the way I discovered Gandharvas was not on Much Music, was not on the radio. It was like opening up for 5440 at the Phoenix, and they did
I was there.
Feel.
I was there.
Oh,
I was at that show.
God.
It was fucking amazing. It was so good. I was there. Yeah.
They did a quick feel live, and it's just Paul Jago. Do you know how to say his Jago? Okay.
Jago, yeah.
Paul Jago, like reverberating against his own voice and and doing like this like beatbox against himself and everything, and like it just blew my mind. And it's like, and I don't know, Craig, if you want to play that underneath what we're talking about right now.
But the record version obviously would never be the same, because that whole scatty jammy bit, it's there, but not like the you can't do that in a record. It would be, there's no visual. It would just be meandering, like 3 minutes of a guy scatting. It would be silly. So it didn't make it on the record, but live, that was always a lot of fun.
So what do you... All right, so I think you're trying to...
So good.
Oh my God, the 90s.
Little less. There you go.
So good.
The 90s. Oh, I love it. But so so you say you love this album too. What do you love about it?
One thing I don't love is the vocals aren't loud enough and they're too wet, but that's Paul the singer, so that's where the co-production comes in. They weren't arguments, but also that was a bit more normal then. But I always heard that vocal being a little louder, but they did not want to make another First Day of Spring, which is like a hit off the first record, which is silly to me personally, because it's a hit. So, and if you naturally do
that
it,
made them.
Why
there was a lot of. I think a lot of it. I totally agree with you, Dan. I think a lot of vocals in and around that time, like kind of that Catherine Wheelish kind of sound, like where the vocals are really pulled back and are very wet, as opposed to
wet and quiet.
Exactly, instead of pushed and in your face. That was really big at the end of the 90s.
There was a bit more. That wasn't a ton of money, but it's a bit more money because there's a big success in the first one. We did it all in a row, as opposed to bits and pieces, so it sounds like one record. The front cover is a picture of the flushing urinal at my studio. So that's what that Paul called that the penis pattern, because if you look at it the way the dots are, that's what it looks like, and he thought it was funny.
Fabulous.
So,
that's fabulous.
That's amazing.
It's flushed. It's literally, they flushed the thing, took a picture, and that's the album cover. And it's kind of hard to, you might look at that and think, I've seen that. What is that? It's just a urinal.
That is so good.
At 46 so Charterhouse Crescent in London, Ontario, and that urinal's probably still there. Yeah.
Wow,
amazing!
That's
probably
awesome.
Maybe a different urinal mat right now, but
I would hope so.
Yeah. One would, hopefully they've changed it.
Wow. So Dan, if I may, because of the fact that we're fans of yours, and when we get somebody like you that's just
didn't know.
What?
You didn't know you were fans of his until you knew you were fans of his.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that we get excited when we start getting into interviews like this. Maybe we should ask you to sort of take her back for us, if you could. Let's go back to, where did you grow up?
Well, from 10 years old on in London, Ontario.
Okay.
So before that, I lived in Sudbury. My dad was a banker, so he got transferred a lot. And then once we moved to London, he was let go, and then he owned a music store, and then from that point on, like he bought a new music store, and we just
in London.
So I worked. Yes.
Which one?
A store called Music Mart, which is now actually, eventually was through two other ownerships, but then eventually was along McQuaid's.
Okay. Yeah. I remember.
So is your dad a musician?
My dad was a musician. Yeah, he passed away in 2008, actually, while I was making that Dolores record I won the Juno for. Or Dolores O'Riordan record. So that was obviously he was the biggest influence. He was a guitar player, never like in a band or anything like that. He just played and collected guitars. So I
a lot like my dad. Yeah, same.
I took that and we jammed every day when I started playing when I was 6 years old, and I'm 55 this year. So that's my life right there.
That's great.
Is doing all that. So I mean, that's how we started doing it. That's how I wanted. I didn't know what mixing consoles did or tape machines did. I was fascinated by it. Some people have rock stars on their wall. I did. I had pictures of Sting on my wall. I had pictures of Bono on my wall, and all these people I loved. And I also had a picture of a mixing console.
Yeah.
So, I didn't know what it did. I just knew it had something to do with recording. And then I wanted to play all the instruments. I just wanted to do covers. I was 14. So I started recording when I was 14 and professionally, like making money at it when I was 18 in a little studio in my parents' basement. And then built DB where the Gandharva's records were done and stuff. And it was a lot of work because running a recording studio when you're the only one there. And at one point, for the first 3 years of it, also having a job. So it's a good 90 hours a week, 100 hours a week. I mean, I didn't care. It's all I wanted to do.
It was your passion. Yeah, absolutely.
It looks like it paid off.
It did. It is. It's a lot less work now, and that's by choice. So I'm running the biggest recording program in the country, and also teaching it and at Fanshawe College in London, and I love that. I get just as much of a charge out of that as I did making a record.
That's great.
Same kind of feedback, and those people want to do what I've always done and are passionate about it. Very different industry than when I started, but they know all about that industry, and they are there anyway. So I
nice.
It's awesome, actually. So it's all just working hard, having fun, and word of mouth. It's kind of ridiculous, to be honest, that you look around and you're like, how the hell did I get here?
That's amazing.
Just an idiot playing a guitar,
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask you is in regards to getting into bands, all that good stuff, and becoming a musician, because you are truly a musician. I was watching you on YouTube today, a band called Texas King. Texas King. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Wicked stuff, man. Like nice playing, nice singing. So when did that I mean, it's nice when you hear that producers are also musicians, and a lot of times, many times, you don't have too many George Martins out there that are not only a wonderful producer, but also a classically trained, pianist. So how did that all come about for you? When did you start playing in bands?
That's what I've played in bands before I ever started recording stuff. And I didn't take it that seriously. I love playing. I mean, I love playing and singing. I don't like all the other stuff that goes along with it. So I kind of love the idea of making a record. So I could make 15 of those in a year sometimes, right? If they were small bands. And then as it's less albums, but longer time as I got older and more known and stuff. But I could make a bunch in a year with all these different players and different musicians and different styles of music, as opposed to the one thing. Because I like a lot of music. Like,
yeah.
I have favorites, but I like a lot of stuff. So that Texas King thing you saw was I taught 3 of the 4 of those guys. That they went to Fanshawe, they formed there, and then made a record with them. And then they were like, that was it the opening? I don't remember if it was a record release or not, but they were like, hey,
the one that's on YouTube. Yeah.
Do you want to come up and sing Flowers with us? And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
So I did that with the Cranberries once in Toronto on my oldest daughter's 16th birthday. Played the encore, which was terrifying.
What song was it? What song was it?
It was a song I wrote, actually, that was one of hers. So they used to play it as an encore because they were kind of touring. Her record was out at the time, not theirs. It was kind of weird. So they asked me to come up and do the encore. and I went up and very crazy experience because of who they are. It was not like going up and jamming with your buddies. I mean, with the Texas King guys, I produced that record and I taught those guys. This is different. I'm standing back and Dolores is like, why didn't you come up and stand on the stage with me and like back to back? I'm like, this is not my show. People look at me and go, who's that idiot? She introduced me, but still, I'm like, I stayed in the back like a side guy. I didn't, and you can't find that video anywhere, by the way. You can find that show, but not that song. It's like people went, yeah, this is crap, and just stop recording.
I don't think so.
Pretty funny.
It's just one of those things, yeah.
You know what, Dan? That's exactly how I feel about this show. Is I'm just like today, like no, just this show today because Craig and Dimitri are just like all over it and just like so many questions, and I think it's great. I have like all the things that everybody has talked about, like all the things you guys have talked about. I have these questions written down in front of me.
Awesome. Sorry, buddy.
And I'm sitting here. I muted myself, and I'm talking with Ivy, and I'm like, they have hijacked my whole show. Every question I have, they've gone, and like I have fucking nothing left.
No, we got lots to talk about still. So, if I may. You brought up an interesting point earlier, Dan. Talking about being a 24-year-old kid and being the most experienced one in the room. It's a very classic theme that I find running throughout George Martin with the Beatles, Andrew Loog Oldham with the Rolling Stones, Daniel Miller with Depeche Mode. It's an interesting kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Dynamic and scenario that seems to play out so often. And when you were doing this in those early days, like, did you feel that you were the most experienced one in the room, or did you feel like you were just flying by the seat of your pants?
Oh, I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants right now, all the time, every day at school, every day working. I actually, to be completely honest, I prefer it. So too much planning, and I'm bored, and there's nothing for chance. So I plan what I need to plan, and then I like just to leave some things to chance. So, but I absolutely, I mean, when you're 24 and they're 21, and they were particularly not mature, and I actually say that with all the love in the world, but they a lot of them, they grew up together, and they were like, it was like hanging around 12-year-old boys. So I was 24. I was 24, 25. I got married at 25. I had kids at 26. I don't know. I ran my own business starting at 18. So I don't know if I maybe just felt older than I was, but I always felt like the sort of, again, sort of the mature one in the room. Yet I look back at it now, and I teach people that age, and I'm like, I was not the mature one.
So what about when it gets flipped? Like, what about when you're working with people way older than you, like Helix? Like, how does that feel?
It's, what's weird? I've always, even now, and like I said before, I'm 55 in a couple of months. I always feel like, in some cases, the young guy, and not in the cases of working with young kids, but so many people I worked with, people come in, and it was always like that kid from London, like you're in your 20s, whatever, and I'm owning my own business, and there's the studio there, and you're this kid, and it's always like, I always felt like, oh, that kid's pretty good for his age. As a guitar player when I was like 14, as an engineer, as a producer, and then you do obviously get to the point where you're at that age where I'm not recording too many 60-year-olds at this point. I don't have anything against it. I'm just mostly recording people half my age at this point. But I don't think I wouldn't treat anybody any different. I would recorded 5-year-olds, like recording a song for their mom, and I've recorded Dolores from the Cranberries, and they're all the same to me. You just treat everybody with the same amount of, everybody's a rock star. If they pay to come in a recording studio, they're all rock stars. So to me, it's just all the same. And I love experience, like either it's stories or people they've worked with in the past or all that. Sometimes being the experienced one in the room is kind of terrifying, honestly, because everybody's looking to you for that. I don't, I like all of it, quite honestly. It's different, but it's not
constantly changing, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Derek, did you want to say anything? Because I actually have a few more questions.
No,
so.
I know you do. So you go right ahead.
Okay,
I swear to God, all my questions are done.
We honestly, we love you, Derek. We didn't mean to do that.
I know.
Dimitri
No,
and
it's
I
totally
did not mean
fine.
to do that.
I am enjoying watching you guys be really excited about somebody that I brought on. So I'm totally fine with that.
So,
Hi, Dan.
Dan, he'll be over there when you need him. So Dan, I was wondering if you could do us a favor, because I know Dimitri's a massive music fan, as well as he's a musician. He plays the accordion, just so everyone knows.
Awesome.
Does he?
And yes, he does. He plays the accordion. Yeah,
Wow.
and well too. So Derek is a musician, and I'm a musician also too. I was one of the fortunate, lucky ones to go to Humber back in the day. So I went to Humber years ago. So I'm wondering.
Interjection. Hold on.
Yeah.
Interjection. Dimitri is the only one that I have not played instruments with in this room today.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dan. I played with Derek and Ivy for a while too. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was
Cool.
Was it 9 years at that point? You guys recalled? I think. 9
I think
years.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
So anyway, I was just wondering if for maybe the person that's not schooled out there in regards to kind of how this whole business works, I was just wondering if you could walk everyone through what really a producer truly does, because I think that a lot of people just kind of view a producer as the person that sits with a coffee and a three-piece suit kind of in the back of the room and says that's good, that's not, like, kind of thing. So I just wondering if you could.
That still happens, by the way. That's still a completely valid producer. There's no right answer to that. That's the problem. So the first real independent and record producer that wasn't working for a record company would be George Martin. Invented the job, really. The job as we know it, meaning they get involved creatively, as opposed to picking songs that songwriters wrote and say, you're going to sing this one, and then pick the correct take when they play it. Getting involved creatively, seriously getting involved, almost becoming a member of the band. Everybody can relate to what a director of a movie does for some reason. Everybody, I think we've seen that more. They know what the lighting should look like. They get they pull the performance out of the actor. They know exactly where it should be lit and shot and how it should be. They're there when they help pick music, editing. They're there. They see it all from the beginning to the end. They're the one with the vision. That's what a producer of a record does.
Yeah.
The producer of a film pays. So kind of like the executive producer of a record, if you see that credit. Whereas the engineer is the knob turner and mic setter upper.
Yeah, it's interesting because I heard the late great Martin Birch, talk, a Deep Purple producer, Iron Maiden producer, talk about just how the producer's role has changed over the years, and it's gone from, like you say, the guy saying, yeah, that was a good take, that sucked, kind of thing, to the person that's turning the knob, but also the person that almost seems to really manage to pull the great performances out of the musicians. And and I'm just wondering, like, how does that? I guess it's one thing because I've been in a million studios in my day, and I've been sitting behind my drums, and when a producer says that was great or that was shit, kind of thing, like I know what that is. But like as a producer, how do you feel you managed to get those performances out of those artists?
It's sometimes is a fight. I would prefer it not to be, quite frankly. So I and lots of people are like that, and they will butt heads and make it really a difficult process. I would prefer to make people comfortable, have a good time, and honestly, if performances come out of people and they don't know how they did them, they're like, wow, that was really good. I worked with other people and I didn't sing like that before. I didn't have to tell Dolores from the Cranberries how to sing. I mean, that's just ridiculous. She just, that's what, so, but she was very comfortable singing around me, and it got to the point where she didn't want to sing around anybody else. So that, you know, in your head, you're doing something right without pretending, like making my job fake important. Like if I want it to feel like I'm important and I have to make comments that don't need to be made, if it's going well, sit back and shut the fuck up, to be quite frank. You just let things happen. And if it's flowing well and it's going well, it goes well. People get along well and it goes well, it goes well. I've also had it not go well and had to try all sorts of psychological nonsense to get somebody to sing properly or sing well. Again, I'm not one of a motivator to, like, I don't walk around with a clipboard and a red tracksuit and a whistle or anything. I'm not going to be like a coach like that. It's more. It's hard. It's just your body language can do that. Some people have a one way. Some people have a different way. A guy like Rick Rubin, for example, who's not even in the room. He's not even in the building. And it says produced by. I kind of find that strange. And so have a lot of bands he's worked with. Yet the records speak for themselves. So some people, the first song I just played or that, and the other one that's coming up from Dolores, I co-wrote and played a lot of instruments on and stuff. So I have to go there, I'll go there, but sometimes I'll just sit back and make sure the performances are coming out. And it changes. And I would say I'm about 10 different producers. I don't know if that's either good or bad. There are people that know this is the way I do it. And when you work with them, that's the way it is. But I always have a good time.
Well, it changes with everybody you work with too, right? Like
I like it that way. Yes.
Yeah.
I've had discussions with other people that are quite very successful in this, that don't agree with me, that actually think you shouldn't, that you should treat everybody the same. And I found that strange because I think every case is different. Every person's different, and kind of read the room a little bit and think,
that's right.
What's the best way to get something out of this person?
Well, I like that. I like that when we were recording with you, Dan. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the fact that you were very fluid with between myself, Michael, and Ivy, and even Dawn. Like it was not like you were a different person dealing with each individual instrument or vocal or whatever, but you were. It was like there was a different way of being, a different way of interacting with the different people.
Yeah, I think I would do that now. I mean, I never would have thought that, but I know I do that. I do it when I'm teaching people. I'm doing it when I'm producing people. I mean, we've all do that a little bit. And it's not like you become a different person. It's not like you're full of shit or anything. You're just, this is the way this person's going to get, you're going to get the best reaction from. So why would 100%. I go a different way and be headbutt people, or, you know what I mean?
Headstrong or passive or whatever, right? Like
a little bit of movement in there for you to still be yourself, but think like, this person's not going to react well to me laughing if they make a mistake. Some people will, and they'll actually appreciate it. We'll all laugh. It could be, holy shit, that was bad. Yeah. And we'll all laugh. Yeah. Some people, if you say that, they'll be like, you can see them, their confidence drift. So it's, you just have to make a very quick read on people in about 5 minutes. And that's, I've not always done that well. I mean, I watched other producers do it as I engineered things and like, wow, this guy's really good at commanding a room. Like, this is really cool. And taking that in. And I find it fascinating, actually.
Yeah, you were really, like, for a guy who's like completely maniacal about his tone, you were very helpful in my opinion with me when we were playing, and you were like, yeah, okay, this is great, but if we do this and this is going to make this sound way better than what it is that you're doing.
Well, I guess a part of that's also in my head thinking, well, I know what you want to do. I know what this person wants. And if we're almost there,
intuitiveness.
If I try this way, it's not going to be like this person's going to get angry at it. Like, it's actually, we're both looking for the same. I think when everybody knows you're looking for the same thing, it's all good.
Yeah, we're all trying to get to the same finish line.
Yeah, exactly. Just a different.
Nobody's fighting anybody else. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I guess you would believe that you're adaptable from artist to artist, you know?
Absolutely. And the older you get, the less you have it in you to probably toil over it and fight over something where they can't play it or they can't sing it. It's been a very long time since I've worked with people that weren't very good. Like, very, very long time. a very long time before that of a bunch of people that couldn't, to be honest.
Right.
A lot of great people, mixtures, by the way. And it's just at the point now where it's like I just do stuff I want to do because I'm old.
I hear you, buddy.
Well, I was like way back at the beginning of this conversation, I was asking you we kind of said that we kind of settled on like that one of your trademark sounds is dreaminess, ambient, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that like the people that work with you seek that out of you?
They must, because it's usually like, oh, I heard this thing you did. And it's almost always, and there's that's always in there. Like that ambient, dreamy thing. Like I said, I just like straight ahead rock music too. But that's when I love it, it's usually got a bit of something else in it, like a bit of just kind of a air or an ambience or something that's a bit deeper than straight ahead. Even though I love that, that's just it. It's just, I think I'm in my, like, that's a comfort for me. Mostly in that guitar area, because again, the guitar players I love shredding guitar players too. I just love everything, but that great kind of neat atmospheric thing, ambient thing always pulls me in for sure. So maybe I don't know if people would even know. I don't even know what people would think of me. Quite frankly, I don't know. I usually in my head think they just think I'm an idiot.
Well, we think you're great.
We definitely don't think you're an idiot.
There's three people that I know.
We are the idiots, and we like you. So I don't know what that says.
Yeah, exactly. So, Dan, I was wondering if you could talk about what's going on with you at Fanshawe right now, because I think there's some massive things going on at that you've started and you've created and you're involved in.
Well, the program's been there since 1975, and it was the first one of its kind in the country. I think second in North America. So teaching people to produce and engineer records, etc. And it's developed a little bit further than that for about 10 years now, which is artist development. One of the profs there signed Chantal Kerviazic and Junkhouse and Our Lady Peace and at Sony years ago. So, Mike has been there about a year longer than me, and he's it's artist development. So there's producing, engineering, those people, but there's also artists that are coming in. They all take the same stuff, but we've got, the rap album of the year, Havaya Mighty, at the Junos this year. So it's the first female to ever win that award.
How was the program involved in that?
Well, we taught her. So she was a student of
Fantastic.
Mine. And also in the same year, a band called Half Moon Run, who from Montreal. Unbelievable. So Devin,
cool.
I taught Devin in 2007, my first year teaching.
Is he the lead singer?
Yeah. And he also won, it was Adult Contemporary Album of the Year or something. Adult Alternative Album of the Year. So 2 people in the artist category won Album of the Year that are grads of ours in the same year. And 3 of the 5 nominees for engineer were our grads. So it's working. I'll put it that way. I don't know, like a young band called New Friends, which is kind of an indie, kind of a quirky pop band, awesome band actually. Massive things are happening with these guys out of nowhere. They graduated 2 years ago, and it's just
write that name down, Craig.
Really, you should check it out because it's very, very, very good. A new record is coming out anytime actually. And I mixed all their stuff up. I actually hooked them up with a producer that I thought would be better for them than myself, quite frankly. A guy named Luke Rose from a band called Ivory Hours that were from London, who were really good. And then they got a record deal through Slate, which is a contest. They won $100,000 record deal thing, and
fantastic.
All this stuff is happening. Like it's actually kind of amazing how I think the speed at which the success is happening is faster. I won a Juno Award after like 23 years of doing this or something, and we're seeing this happen like way smaller, like way, way quicker. It's not that it's all about happening fast, but just to get to the pro level and the top level fast it's really neat. It's kind of awesome.
If you think back about like to when we were 20 odd or 17 odd or 18 odd or whatever, the access to information for us was way more limited.
Yeah.
Right. We couldn't, we did that. YouTube didn't exist. We couldn't learn how to do this, that, and the other thing by just going online and just like, there it was.
You had to do
Right?
real research. Yeah.
We have to do real research. And if we like, even just like we had, whoever's home, whatever, had the cornucopia of Encyclopedia Britannica. Well, that was written by a bunch of old dead dudes from like 18 tickety boo. Right. So that didn't have any of the information, any of the current information that we were looking for. Right now, especially with younger musicians or younger artists of any kind, you're getting more information flooded to you, like anything you want to learn at any point in time.
Yeah.
You have the wealth and breadth of human information at your fingertips. So the fact that things are like moving way faster, I think it's brilliant for one.
They can see it, any kind of music they want quickly. Like they can pull from many influences at once to get people coming in. And one of the things that blows me away is songwriting and lyric writing at that age. Musicianship, there's always been really good young musicians, but I'm blown away at a 19-year-old songwriting, because my songwriting was really bad at 18, 19 years old.
Oh, yeah. Like when I was 18 writing songs, my composition was like absolute rubbish.
Yeah, and it's just no idea at all. And lyrics, which I can't do. It's not really my thing, but it's amazing to listen to look at it and go, what have you been through? Where is this coming from? You're 19 years old.
Who hurt you?
Exactly. So there's all influences coming from everywhere,
So, well, is that where you're seeing it being more emotionally mature these days out of young people?
I think more maybe willing to expose it or show it. I think a lot of people express it. So your younger musician tended to maybe not sing about something like personal. It would be,
there was a shame to that or something back in the day.
Yeah, and there's not. So people are more vulnerable in song and lyrics because it's okay to be vulnerable right now, which it should be. So
healthier, definitely healthier.
Yeah, and I think people are just okay with just being themselves in a song. So it's and then just being exposed to more music. I just think it's cool. And if you like Havaya Mighty, that rap album of the year, she's like Kendrick Lamar. She's the real deal. Lyrics are crazy. It's not, sure, some stuff's about this, but it's not all about in the club and this whatever. It's not fluff in any way.
Yeah, Durkee played some of her stuff last week on this show.
Really? Yeah, serious lyrics, and it's just
so good.
It's just, we knew we saw a rock star the second we saw her. It was just a matter of time. That was like 2012 when she graduated, and since then there's been that Juno, there's been the Polaris Prize. It's just like, and the first woman, the black woman, I think, like a hip hop record to win Polaris Prize. Hip hop records don't win that, so it's just neat. All that stuff. It just keeps happening. So that artist portion of the people coming to Fanshawe, it's not like I'm going to go be a recording engineer. That's cool, or a producer. That's great, but you're going to need to do about 5 things in this industry now, not just focus on one. Yeah. So the fact that people come in as a songwriter, they might want to get into publishing. They're like really into audio post-production for film. It's just like all over the place, but you have to be. So it's not focused as much as it used to be, but I think that's good. I work because I'm not focused and only concentrate on one thing. Yeah. Honestly, I've always done a bunch of disciplines, which I find fun. So
it keeps you interested as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. Where do you see things going, Dan? I know that might be a loaded question. It might be a huge question, but like, as far as being a producer in this day and age, because you're teaching the next generation, where do you see things going?
It's really difficult. I don't know, because so many people are trying to do everything alone. People are a little afraid to talk to people, and it's hard to pull a performance out of a person. Yet the records that they really love, for example, they hold kind of close to them, are made the real way, which is not a person with headphones on in their bedroom and they send something off to some guy in his kitchen and they send back to this person that's all cool because it can be done. But when people sit in a room together and play music, different things happen. So I don't know where it's going, because all this stuff cycles around all the time. So it's always like, wow, this is really neat that I can do all this stuff alone. And then you're like, I know a lot of people have gone through this, and then go, but should I, or shouldn't I have another person bouncing this off me? Like, should there be a person I'm arguing with, or should the greatest records were not all the greatest records, but most of the greatest records were multiple people made them. But not 300 people with 19 producers and 42 songwriters. It's usually like it's a bunch of people, but a collection of people, small collection of people. And I don't know if we get back to that. I mean, there's a lot of crazy good musicians. If you look on like YouTube, on like Instagram and stuff, just crazy young
TikTok
people
and all these different places.
Yes. And playing music that you think like, wow, how do you even know that? Where's that coming from? I teach people that I make references to like Zeppelin songs or Hendrix, and they understand what I'm saying. They know where it's coming from. And it's just like, I actually have to check myself sometimes. I'm like, why do you even know this?
Yeah.
Why is an 18-year-old bringing up Thelma's Monk? Why?
Well, exactly. That's just it. So you're kind of like, wow, this is really neat. This is a special group of people that are just not, and that's not everybody, of course. But so I don't really know, because it's changing so much and so fast. That you can do anything anywhere. Like I said, I just don't know if you should. So I truly believe that people will get back a little bit more to maybe people making music in a room together. Like, it's kind of sounds stupid, and to be totally honest, this part might fly over some people's heads or whatever, but a room is not a room. It's not a room. Every room sounds different. And if I was to put up drums in this room right now, they just sound terrible. I would never record a drum kit in this room. It's not meant to record drums. Low ceilings sound like shit on cymbals. It sounds like it's in a small room. So it's like, yeah, but you're putting the microphones close. It's like, yeah, but you went and rented some crap from some music store. It's like, yeah, it's the same. It isn't the same. No. When you go into an expensive recording studio, you save up money and you go to these places and you're like, this is serious, this is expensive. And you go into the real thing. You're like, oh, okay, I get this. Is why this sounds better than me in my house. Not all music. Again, not all music. Some music should not be made in those rooms, in those big studios. Yeah. People always use the Billie Eilish example, which is brilliant because it's a bloody brilliant record for her first record, and they're both brilliant songwriters, producers, engineers, brilliant, and it couldn't have been made anywhere else. That's the environment, but that doesn't mean that just became the rule now. Nobody really knows, because you can kind of just do anything anywhere. People are just kind of grabbing onto anything, so that's a very difficult question to even answer. It won't go back the way it was, which is people spending ridiculous amounts of money on records, spending $4 million on a record, $1 million to make it. That's just dumb. It's never been good. And scrapping records and starting again with some other producer, that stuff, there's not money to do it. And there's no longer big rock stars except for the rock stars that were around before. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Well, yeah, I think that the industry always goes through cycles. Like in the 70s, punk turned everything down, and so maybe the Billie Eilish record was a punk thing that tore everything down,
That's what people,
and it was necessary.
It is, because it's also it's very well done, but it also it does give the false sense that that's the way it should be done. It's like, no, that's the way that should be done.
Absolutely.
But we don't take the ball and run with that now. I just hope actually that people want to be in a room playing with other people. There's nothing like that. You guys know that. There's nothing like, just get charged up and people feed off that, and you can hear that and you can feel it when you listen to it. So
nice.
That's more of a dream than a prediction.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, Dan, we really appreciate your time tonight. Before we let you go, we're just wondering if you could talk. We're going to play something here from Dolores O'Riordan. Just wondering if you could talk about her a little bit, because we'd love to hear anything you can tell us about her. We love
that. Spoiled me. That I started working with her like 2003, and that spoiled me because there was never a thought of who's going to buy it, what we should do with it because the fans might not like it or like it.
Yeah.
We should chop this song down because that's what everybody's doing. There's no hook. If you would say stuff like that, I'd be like, but we need a chorus. I mean, it's just the same 4 chords. We need to write a chorus. And she's like, well, Zombie was 4 chords. It sold 19 million records. Like, funny. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah.
How did you find each other?
she was working in Toronto because they had a holiday home near Peterborough. So they up in near Kawartha Lakes, and she was working with this guy doing kind of like experimental stuff, kind of electronically based, some electronic stuff in there. And she something went on with that guy. I don't remember what, a drug problem or something, I think, or some kind of thing happened. And she asked somebody at the studio, do you know somebody else that can do what that guy's doing? And they phoned me and said, do you know these 2 programs, like Pro Tools and Reason? I said, yeah, I'm an expert in both of them. I had never used Reason before. I lied. And
Good job.
I
Get the gig, my friend. Get the gig.
Fake it till you make it. Let's go.
Turned out that she didn't care. It was more that was a program she knew because that guy used it. So I did learn it very quickly, wrote a song and recorded in it, and then just literally, and then drove 4 hours to meet her and her husband. We hung out and talked, not about music, just talked. And she figured, if I was recommended, I must know what I'm doing. So it's more about the person. And she's like, oh, I'll meet you next week at the studio, and we'll work together. And if things don't work out, I'll just never call you again. Like, it wasn't in a mean way. It was just like laughing. And if it works out, you never know. And it was supposed to be a 3-day gig, and it was 13 years. So
oh my God.
the spoiling,
unbelievable.
Which is that a period where I barely worked with anybody else because it was the drop of a hat. She'd call me and be like, this weekend, I'd be like, all right, get in the car, grab my stuff, pack it all in, and drive to or fly to, they'd be like, email me a plane ticket, and I'd be flying to Ireland and be there for 5 days or whatever.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like, it really, it went from doing like little bits, and then it was like, I think I want you to record my vocal. Record drums. I think I want you to record my vocal with me. And I was like, okay. But I didn't push. So she didn't know I played guitar. She thought I was like guy with a little keyboard, drum loops and electronics. She had no idea I eventually played all the guitar on her solo record, a little bit of bass and stuff as well, and keyboards and stuff. But I don't want to push that. So I'm like, no, I'm an engineer. I'll record the drums for you and stuff. And then she's like, I think I want you to produce my vocal. And I'm like, oh, okay. So this is calling me. And then a month later, we hook up. So that was like few and far between the times we saw each other in that first like 6 months. And then she was back in Canada for a long time. And it was just a drop of a hat. I need you this weekend. And I just show up. And sometimes, like I said, it was in Ireland. And then my role got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then on the second solo record, which is the song that's coming up, like I said, my father was actually, he got a brain tumor. Found out he had a brain tumor the first day I was in Ireland. One day I was supposed to be there for 10 days, and I was there for 1. Flew back immediately, and we made that record in London, Ontario, because I was at the studio during the day and the hospital during the night. That was my time making that record. And that's what that song's about. She asked me if she could write about that. And it was from like sort of my mom's point of view and stuff. And this song Tranquilizer. And it's wow. I'm like, okay. I can't, it's very difficult for me to listen to, but I do listen to it sometimes, but it was just like no thought of anything except making cool music that we liked. If we didn't like it, it wasn't coming out. But if we liked it, we would hope other people would, and no thought at all about markets or.
But that's
never gave a shit.
That's incredible, Dan, because that just goes to show, my friend, how much you meant to Dolores. Because that's really special.
Yeah, we were very close friends, and there was about 3 years in there. She had some mental health issues and stuff, and she was gone for a long time, so we didn't talk a lot for about 2 years, and then just before she passed away, we were working out song splits, a song I wrote and gave to her, and then she sang on it. It was going to be on she didn't know what yet, either a Cranberries record. She didn't know. She's like, but we have to finalize this. And we were talking and it was all great. And we worked out the song splits. And then like a week later, she passed away. So it's just so like, it's almost like we hadn't talked in a couple of years. And it was like, we kind of not made amends, but kind of got back together and we're, I'm not sure what this is for, if we're going to do a Cranberries record or not. And then ended up being a Cranberries record because there was no Dolores anymore. So they collected all the stuff that we did, plus some stuff that they did on their own, and finished it. In some cases, added to it, and I had already done lots of the.
Oh, wait, Dan, are you cut out there a bit?
We lost him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
There he is. He's back.
Sorry, you had just said you had finished some of the, and then you froze. Sorry.
Oh yeah, so it was stuff that we had worked on together. That's what that record was.
Gotcha.
Nice.
So
I'm sorry. I don't mean to spoil the flow, but we have a question here from somebody one of our listeners on Twitch, and he says, do you have any thoughts about GarageBand? I don't know exactly what they're referring to, but
the Apple
it's
program.
It's our friend Christian. Do you have any thoughts about GarageBand?
like the actual program GarageBand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think
I would assume. Yeah.
it's great. Honestly, it's free and it comes with a Mac. It's just literally you can hit record and record things, and it's all there's like most people would use it and drag and drop some like loops and stuff and little bits of music, and then they'll play on top of it. Yeah. You don't need to use it that way. It's like a stripped down. It's like iMovie versus Final Cut. Like it's a home version of a recording.
It's a simple version of Logic.
It is. It's a very simple, stripped down version of Logic. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's not a professional piece of software. That does not mean you cannot record great songs in it, though. Yeah. So I think it's fantastic, actually.
I use Ableton.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that it comes with Macs, and it has opened up the possibility of recording to people that normally didn't have, because honestly, who the fuck is going to buy Pro Tools? Right? Like, I hate Pro Tools myself. I despise it. I can't stand working with it. And when I started writing and actually recording and doing stuff, I started with GarageBand, and it made my life so much fucking easier.
You see, the funny thing is, I can't use Logic. It makes no sense to me. Logic's the wrong word for that program. So but I'm a professional recording engineer, so Pro Tools makes sense to me, and everything else is a fucking toy.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use Photoshop, right? I don't know how to use Photoshop. I don't understand that world, but that's the photo editing one. So it's kind of like it's difficult if you're going to get into that software thing, because you want to go deeper. You're probably going to, in the mixing and editing and that kind of thing, you'll have to be most likely in that Pro Tools land. But as a composer, writer, whatever works. I don't care if it's a ukulele through a tube amp. I as long as it makes you happy and it makes songs, I'm happy with it. And
amen.
Right.
Good for you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Chris Sheen says he's held off upgrading to Logic, so it seems like he's happy with your answer.
I think he's going to be visiting a company called Avid. Yeah. So he'll be picking up some Pro Tools. I just love Ableton. I think it's a great program.
Yeah,
but for me, it's got to be ease of use for me. So anyway, Dan, my friend,
you so much.
Thank you so
Thanks for hanging
much
out.
for chilling with us. We've been talking for an hour.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I could literally talk to you for another. Like easily talk to you for another hour.
Shut the hell up. So my wife said to me, so that you'll be like probably about an hour. I said, no, this will be like a half an hour. And I'm like,
and here we
why
are.
are you always right?
They always are. They always are. Yes.
I know.
Listen. So this, Derek, our last tune here. So again,
it's my turn.
Thank you so much.
I get to talk now.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan.
So
really appreciate it. Thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
Dan. It was very insightful, and great having you on. We're going to go back to 2009. This is from No Baggage. This is Dolores O'Riordan. And that Dolores O'Riordan. This is Tranquilizer. Right here on Revolution Radio. Canadian as fuck. Thank you, Dan Brodbeck.
Thank you again, Dan.